Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning into this very special report. Last night, on the eve of what could be our destruction, our wonderful city of Waterdeep was nearly disintegrated. That's right, an adventuring crew known as the Adamantine Adventurers went down into the dungeon of the Mad Mage, deep below our city, to try and stop Mecha-Halaster from rising to wreak havoc across the city. What happened to these adventurers? Did they succeed? Stay tuned as we bring you all of the gruesome details. Alright everybody, I had the great pleasure last night to once again play on the Variant Roll stream with the amazing DM Corey, and 4 other incredible individuals. We had an absolute blast as we went through level 14 in the Dungeon of the Mad Mage. This was awesome, and it was a super condensed version of this adventure. This was just out of sight. So hey, I'm Gregory, this is 1 in 20 D&D. Thank you for tuning into the vlog today, where I talk about every day. I talk about D&D and RPG stuff and all kinds of craziness for ttrpg games. So here we go with a recap and just me gushing about how awesome the players and our DM were last night. What a fun time. I absolutely thrilled and had such a good time last night. So let's get into what actually happened. First, I guess I should talk a little bit about the player. So I had the distinct pleasure of playing with randomly generated Polish Christy, Anan Moth, and GSD Paint. Now these players were amazing, and of course DM Corey, I don't know how he did it. He took like what should probably be like 10 or so weeks of gameplay and condensed it into 3 sessions, which is just awesome first and foremost. On top of that, the description, the narrative, the way he described really everything that was happening, and just how he presented the puzzles and stuff to us. What a great time last night. We had so much fun. And I have to apologize a little bit, I think, because poor Corey, we just kept murdering everything that we had to deal with. Now, that being said, we started the session fighting a fire giant, and that ate up more than half of the session because that was a brutal, long fight. There were smoke methods and some hobgoblins that just got ginsued, basically, because Jen's character, Bunny, who, just awesome character, a priest of a cleric of Lathander. So it's just like throwing light, pink light everywhere, and brought up some spiritual guardians that just minced the hobgoblins into nothing. So we were mowing through those, but then the fire giant would, you know, tons and tons of hit points, and we just kept throwing stuff at her. Fire giantess, I should say, I suppose, with Emberosa. Great name, Emberosa, the fire giantess. We struggled through it. We finally destroyed them. Now, what had happened is, last week we had a little bit of technical difficulties, and unfortunately, Greg, GSD Paint, which is Greg, and Christy, Polish Christy, were not able to make the stream last week, and we luckily had Jonah Mamel and Anan Moth sub in for us. This week, unfortunately, Jono couldn't join us. However, we did have Tim, so Anan Moth was with us. That was great. So Tim's character, Hickman, Bunny, that's Jen's character, and myself as Hadar started out basically face-to-face with this fire giantess. And what we discovered a few moments later is that we had Rin, that is Greg's character, and we had Nezrin, Christy's character, Nezrin, were chained to Mecha-Halaster in this chamber. Now, when you're dealing with the Rakshasa, which we were at the very beginning 2 sessions ago, these sort of crazy things will happen. That's just the way it goes. And hello, welcome to D&D. So we ended up fighting this fire giantess. First Rin was able to just like bust out of his chains. In fact, I think he rolled a nat 20 on his athletics check, which was super cool. And then a few rounds later, Nezrin, who had been blinded by the smoke method first, then was able to release herself and like slither out of the chains and get free a few moments later, a few rounds, or 1 or 2 rounds later, whatever. So now we're all sort of reunited, fighting this fire giantess. We're, chucking spells and arrows are flying, and it was just a crazy, long, awesome battle. That being said, then we got into figuring out where we had to find a total of 6 keys, I think it is. So we had found 4 last time, and we needed 2 more. So after this long battle with the fire giantess, then so once again, Hadar the Dragonborn. Oh, I had so much fun playing Hadar. He got to fire a magic missile again, and second time, he took down a fire giant. Apparently, magic missile is the way to kill a fire giant. Who knew? So with the Eldritch Knight pulling out some of his magic because he wasn't in melee, we tucked down the fire giantess, and to his dismay, we see the red, beady, glowing eyes of Mecha-Halaster ignite. So, oh crap, now the time clock is really ticking. We blitz through that chamber. We run through this, we're running through the level just like, oh my god, what do we do next? And got into this chamber with a tapestry of a beholder, a room with a glass door and a key inside it, where, I'm sorry, Christy, I kind of pressed a button because I got a little nervous, and I sort of shrunk Nezrin's legs. I thought it was going to shrink her whole body, but something went wrong. Anyway, this is Halaster. It's all Halaster's fault. I'm just blaming that Mad Mage. So anyway, we had, meanwhile, I should say, Hickman was like flying around as a bat, trying to figure things out on his own, like running into stuff and so forth as a little bat. He got teleported out of the room, so now we don't know where Hickman is. While Nezrin and I are trying to figure out Nezrin and Hadar are trying to figure out how to get this key, Rin is messing around with this beholder tapestry, and the beholder starts talking to him like, "Free me and I will give you treasures beyond compare," and all this kind of creepy stuff. So he's trying to figure out how to release this beholder, ends up just basically disintegrating the tapestry, unfortunately. And one thing leads to another. We get the key, get out of this one chamber, and reconnect with Hickman. Then we have to find the last key, which was supposed to be hidden by some kind of an illithid. So we had these rhymes or these puzzles or what have you, poems that were like clues, and the last one made mention of an illithid. And we walk into a room and there's like all this weirdness. There's like this giant steel ring suspended above us, and there's two more statues, and statues had been talking to us, or at least in the first 2 sessions we found some of the other keys by dealing with the statues. Side note, Hadar still has spider legs growing out of his back because of messing with one of Halaster's trick statue traps. So that's still there. So there's this head, a illithid head, rotting on a table, and Hickman goes over and like jams his hand inside the head of this illithid, starts playing with the tentacles. Great visual. Thank you so much for that one, Tim. But anyway, finds something metal inside the head. So there's a bunch of funny role-playing in that scene. And then we had Bunny just like smash it with her Rod of Disruption and just like destroy the head, get the key. We run back to this room. So in this room, there's these alcoves with these adamantine keys and mithril keys. Mithril keys and mithril, like, alcoves and these slots for the keys. So we're like, okay, 3, 2, 1, we all... Of course, there was some silliness about, like, okay, do we go on 3, or is it like 1, 2, 3 turn, or... That had to happen, of course. So we did that, and then we turned these keys and finds out we basically, is like, some weird thing happens where, like, our ears kind of start buzzing and we get a little dizzy and all that, and then everything goes back to normal. Like, well, what was that? We open the door to the room and everything for like a spherical mile is disintegrated except the room that we're in. And only what was protected by mithril survived, apparently. Everything else was just disintegrated. Yeah, so we destroyed Mecha-Halaster, I guess, but we also kind of disintegrated the rest of the maze. Now, luckily, you can't really destroy it, so it actually kind of comes back after, I think, 3 days. It resets itself. And, so problem, and then one last thing about our group. So the problem is, I had decided that Hadar was going back into the mine, this dungeon, because he's looking for his friends from when he did the earlier level in the dungeon. And now he's afraid he disintegrated them. So Hadar is just in a bad way right now at the end of this session. Okay, now ultimately, I said I goofed at the beginning calling us the Adamantine Adventurers, and that's because out of 6 party members, 3 of us decided as our magic item to pick adamantine armor, so we couldn't be crit. So, sorry Corey, I know that kind of sucks when you're a DM and you're like, you get a crit, but you can't even do it because the players, they can't be crit. So, we had some fun with that, and that was cool. We had Bunny, Bunny, Hadar, and Rin were all adamantine protected because of our armor. So that was just fun. Just another, oh my god, I don't know what it is. I've been so lucky. The groups I've been playing with lately, just everybody's been, the role playing has been great. Everyone's been, you know, yes and, which is so phenomenal when you get into a game and everyone does that, it makes the game so much more fun. And Jen pointed that out afterwards last night in our Discord chat. She's like, yeah, thanks everyone for, you know, for being good and yes and role playing, and it was just so much fun. And bonus to Christy. This was like one of Christy's first games. She has just started playing D&D. I think this is only the 2nd DM that she's played with. And she was awesome too. Great ideas, good, you know, great gameplay, just awesome. It was so much fun. Everybody was hysterical, and all the characters were fun as well. So thank you all for playing such a great game with me. I will play with any of you anytime in the future. Just let me know when and where, and I'll be there. That was just such an amazing adventure. So thank you, thank you. I will see you again at a table someday. Keep rolling 20s until then. And remember, it's your game. Play your way. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to this special report as Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to this very special report. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning into this... Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning into this special report. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning into this special report. Last night, deep below our wonderful city of Waterdeep, we had mayhem ensue as the team of adventurers known as... No! Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning into this special report. Last night, deep below this wonderful city of ours, Waterdeep, we had nearly been demolished because... Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning into this special report. Last night, before... Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning into this special report. Last night, beneath our wonderful city of Waterdeep, dark... Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning into this special report. Last night, deep below our wonderful city of Waterdeep, dark things were afoot. Demolition, destruction, and disintegration were in order as the... Oh my god. An adventuring crew went and sought to destroy Mecha-Halaster before he could seek vengeance upon the city and wreak havoc across our fair and wonderful... Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning into this very special report. Last night, on the eve of what could be our destruction, our wonderful city of Waterdeep was nearly disintegrated. That's right, an adventuring crew known as the Adamantine Adventurers went down into the dungeon of the Mad Mage, deep below our city, to try and stop Mecha-Halaster from rising to wreak havoc across the city. What happened to these adventurers? Did they succeed? Stay tuned as we bring you all of the gruesome details.